fell
recording
on
this.
Iran
This
on
was
February
yesterday,
28th,
and
the
it tried to
Iranians had
turn it
struck back.
off.
But how effective
And
were
this
these
woman is
strikes,
talking
and how much
about
damage did they
basically
actually cause?
what happened
Satellite
with
imagery once
the
again offers some of
the
the
king,
clearest
the
answers.
king's
We're
people
going
meeting the
in depth
girls,
to analyze this imagery and
like his
tell you what it
son,
really means on this episode
and
of Photo
literally
Evidence.
talking to them, the African and all of that, and them acting
Let's
like
start
everything's
here.
okay,
This
like they're
base
not
in central
lying
Jordan has quietly become one
about
of the most
medical in the
important
hospital
hubs
and
for
all
US
of that
military
when they're
operations in
literally
the region.
trying to take
In the days
everything
leading up to the
over
conflict, more than 60 US aircraft
right
were
under his
spotted on the ground
nose
here.
with
Fighter
Africans,
jets,
Muslims,
drones,
and
and transport
Indians.
planes. That's
And the
around
funny
3
thing
times the base's
is,
usual level. Among the aircraft
like,
visible were some
an
of the most
advert
advanced
just
in
came
America's
on,
arsenal, including F-35
like,
stealth fighter bombers.
and then
Also
they quickly
spotted were
tried to switch it
F-16
off
fighter bombers
again. Now,
and
the
F-15
advert
air
was of an
superiority
Indian woman
fighters.
and a black
This is
woman
clearly more than just a
talking. She
logistics
looked
base.
like the one that was
Taken
in the
together,
House of
those
Lords and all
aircraft
of that.
represent the tip of the American spear, meant
Which I'm
to
sure
pierce
they're
Iran's
aware
air
of eBay
defenses.
and all of that.
Some were seen parked
Now
in the
they're trying
open,
to say
others
they're
likely
locking
contained in
down
aircraft
seeds,
shelters hidden from satellite view. The base sits more than
basically
500 miles from Iran, far enough to put it beyond many of Iran's shorter-range
to
weapons.
try to do
And
stuff
yet,
in a
the base
certain
was
way,
hit
but
several
that's putting
times in
people
the
in
opening days of
danger.
the war. One of the most significant hits,
Like,
shown
I
here
don't
in
really
this
care
image from
about
March
having
2nd,
children right
took out a
now
key
and
installation
all
on
of
the
that
base,
type of
a
jazz.
THAAD missile defense battery. Each one of these is
I'm a bit too
estimated to
busy
cost up to $1 billion.
because of what's going on
THAAD,
now.
which stands for
My
Terminal
money's
High
being blocked.
Altitude
They're trying
Area
to block it
Defense, is a key
for
part of the
the
American air defense umbrella,
obviously the
designed to
18th
protect high-value
when I'm supposed to
bases,
get paid
such as
again,
this one.
and
You
acting
might have
like
heard
I'm
of
lying
Patriot
and just
missiles.
shooting
Well,
off stuff.
THAAD is designed to work
And it's
alongside
not
them.
true,
While the
but
Patriots
then
are designed to take down
KRS-One and all of
aircraft,
that have
cruise
made into
missiles,
buying
shorter-range
stuff
ballistic
and works with them
missiles,
tech kids,
THAAD
and they're
deals
trying
with
to
the
jam
high-flying,
communications
long-range
and do certain
ballistics.
stuff as
In
well.
other words, exactly the kind of
Right under the
missiles Iran
king's
would need to
nose.
fire at this base because of how far away it is. The
I'm glad
system
she's telling
split
the
across
truth though,
5 40-foot
because a lot of
trailers, which
people are
house
scared,
things
and
like
these
radar,
youngsters think
missiles,
that they
and
can
launcher,
just get
all of
these
which appear to be damaged.
elders out of hospitals and just
2 large
take
blast
over the
sites are visible,
jobs, and
suggesting it took multiple hits
they
to
go
destroy
do
the
all
battery.
types of stuff.
It's impossible to tell exactly what weapons were used from this image, but anecdotal evidence suggests Shahed drones were responsible. That is plausible. Anti-air sites like this were designed to spot high-flying, fast-moving missiles. They have a blind spot for
literally lock in
slow-moving,
America
low-flying drones.
and
If that turns out to be
England
true,
by
then the strike
force,
is
but then
hugely
that's causing a
significant.
lot of wars in the
Drones
streets.
worth an estimated
They're trying to
$35,000
take
each
down
were
the
able to
king of
take
the
out a
country,
billion-dollar air
the
defense
monarchy,
battery. At the core of the
and
THAAD system is a
basically
powerful
have
radar, the
no
AN-TPY-2,
ruler,
which on
and
its own
then
costs
who
around
will
$500
rule?
million.
I mean, if
This is what was
the
left of it
Africans
after
are
that
scaring
strike.
them,
When operational, this is
and
supposed to
the
detect
Indians
and track
are
incoming
literally
missiles. Without it, the
like
system is blind and cannot function. With the US only having 8 THAAD batteries
like
worldwide, the
scared of the
destruction of even one
Africans,
has major
and the whites
operational
are scared of them,
implications. Either the
who's the line
Patriot
of
systems which
defense?
accompany it are going to have to work overtime to compensate for the loss, depleting their
Because
own
I'm not
missile
scared of
stocks,
any of them,
or
but
America is going to have
that's
to
what
pull
I'm
another
sent here
THAAD
for.
system
I'm
from
not
somewhere
really
else,
sent here to
like the
fear
Pacific,
what they're
where they're
trying to
supposed to be
do.
defending Taiwan, and put it in the Middle East instead. This attack and others
About
like it
Taiwan
show
put
that
in the
Iran
Middle
isn't
East
just
as well,
firing
and just
blindly at
trying to
US
be like, well,
bases.
just tie it up
It is
to,
aiming for their weakest points
like,
and
just get
hitting
with a
them
white
successfully.
person,
That requires sophisticated intelligence gathering to provide targeting data.
or have nothing,
Intelligence which may hint at the
or be
involvement of
gay,
other US
because we
rivals,
want to
namely
tie up
Russia.
everything,
Another very similar
like certain
strike is
people.
thought to have taken place in Saudi Arabia. This is Prince Sultan Air Base. Just like the airbase in Jordan, a significant number of American aircraft were seen gathering here before fighting broke out.
He's trying to do a
Unlike
diamond
Jordan, this
formation
base
with her
seems to have
hands,
been used mostly for support planes.
and
This
that's
satellite
supposed
image
to
shows
be,
E-3 AWAC planes on the tarmac here.
yeah,
These are
military in
basically flying
America,
radar dishes, the eyes of America's fighter
and the
jets,
women
the
and
same
all
way
of
the
that
THAAD radar
were
are the eyes of
basically
its
African
ground-based missile
English
defenses.
down there,
Alongside them are
and the
KC-135 mid-air refuelers. These are
king,
flying petrol stations,
basically,
allowing US
the
planes to
king's
stay in
son
the
went
air
in,
and keep attacking much longer than they
and
would be able
navy and
to
all of
otherwise.
that,
And this is a C-17
but there
Airlifter,
is
huge
like
aircraft responsible for flying
shadow
ammunition like
forces
Patriot
watching
and
as
THAAD
well.
missiles into the combat zone.
It's
A
not just
second
the
satellite
military,
taken on March the 1st shows smoke rising from the
everything
nearby
and
air
all of
defense
that.
site.
Yeah, they
We
are
know this is where
watching,
another THAAD radar, costing another $500 million,
and so is
was
everyone
previously
else.
located. And what we can see from this image is that a tent, possibly covering the radar, has been torn apart and badly charred.
If you live in England and
And
you're
then they're
between
saying that
50
a
and
tent,
80, there's a
basically,
chance
so
you
they're
could get
trying to
approved
say
for up to £10,000.
that basically
And
because they
honestly, a
own
lot
this
of
island,
people
then look
have
what come
no
on.
idea dear, this even
This commercial.
exists. A And once you're approved,
They're
it's
trying
then
to
completely up to you how you use that money. It
team
can
up
help
with America and all
bills,
types
cover
of
final
stuff,
expenses,
and then trying
or
to
even
take
be
my
passed on
money
as a
off me
gift.
and then be
It's
like,
your
well,
choice.
it's trying to,
Thousands of people have already taken it up. But if you haven't checked yet, well,
go
you
against
could be
your
missing out.
king.
It only takes about 30 seconds to check if you qualify. So if you're in that 50 to 88 bracket and you live in England, there's a good chance you're
And the
already
forces that
eligible.
protect you and civilians
Just click the button
and
below this
literally
video
trying to wipe out
answer.
Chinese people and
What we
Asians
don't know
out
for
here,
certain is whether the radar
but then
was
be
still
like, no,
underneath
you're
that
killing
tent when the
kids
attack took place.
because
We
we
also
want to
cannot tell
take
who
over
owns the
everything.
system,
We've got
because
kids
the
here
US
too. We
isn't
want
the
to
only
build
country
stuff
that
and
has them.
earn
Saudi
with
Arabia
America,
possesses a
and
fad
we can do
factory
it with
of its
America
own.
and you.
But whether or not the radar was
Yeah,
hit
but then
and
you're
whoever owned
treating
it,
me like
this
this and
attack
blocking
and the
my
one in
money and doing
Jordan
all types
clearly
of
show a
stuff.
pattern and speak to an underlying strategy.
That's the
That strategy
question.
is
What's the
called C,
cost?
or suppression of enemy air defenses. It's the same strategy that America and Israel used on Iran in their opening strikes. Rather than go for the highest value enemy targets
Yeah.
first, what you do is prioritize the
Blame it
enemy's air
on
defenses.
Israel and
Specifically, you
America.
aggressively hunt down and destroy the radar, which
Like,
allow those
yeah.
defenses to see what is coming and shoot it down. Once the enemy is blinded to your actions, that opens up the way for strikes on everything else. That
Like
seems to
when they
be what
stole
the
my
Iranian
phone
forces are attempting to do here. The strikes weren't limited to
and
Jordan
took my
or
stuff
Saudi Arabia either. This is Umdal in
and
Qatar,
then tried to
an
make it
American
look like I was
outpost that hosts
homosexual.
one very important device,
And they're like, look,
an
they were
AN
linked up to
FPS
your
132
phones.
phased array radar.
Africa
This
and
is
all
a
that stole
huge
your phones
system
outside
made
the
up of 3
hospital.
radar dishes, each 40 foot high and placed back to back. Unlike the
And then the
previous radar
others
systems, which were designed to feed information to individual air defense batteries as
got your
individual air
phones and they're
bases,
like,
this
yeah,
was
we
much more
own it.
significant. With a range of up to
If you could
3,000
get
miles,
your
this
new
radar
one
can
now,
detect and track objects moving through low atmosphere as far afield as northern Russia, southern Africa, and the Indian Ocean, which means it is capable of tracking
and that's
long-range
China
ballistic
and all of
missiles
that.
across the
China,
entirety of the
Japan
Middle
and all
East
of that.
and some
They're trying to
distance
go
beyond
against
as
in
well.
Asia
That data will be fed into a whole
to
bunch
say,
of
yeah,
systems
we got
and
Russia
is
and
likely
Ukraine
also
trying to
fed back
squeeze
to
them in at
CIA
the same time
headquarters
as
in the
well.
US. In other words, damaging this radar doesn't just hurt America's defenses in the Middle East, it blinds it to what's going on in a significant portion of the planet. And it costs north of $1 billion. But that's exactly what Iranian forces managed to do. Satellite imagery taken on March the 3rd
They're just
shows
saying
damage to
kids
one
can
of
do
the
it.
3 radar
They're
plates
just
at the
gonna
site.
keep blowing
The
smoke.
image reveals the radar's face badly damaged, with debris scattered across the roof of the main building. Water runoff from firefighting efforts is also visible, showing that the hit was not just kinetic. It involves explosives which started a fire, which burned for long enough that a significant amount of water was required to extinguish it. While it's impossible to tell from an image alone, it seems fair to conclude that the damage caused here is more than superficial. The site is far from destroyed, but its capabilities are likely significantly degraded. We can't tell from this image exactly what weapon was used to hit the radar either, but it is well within range of Iran's
Yeah, that
drones
kid who
and
tried to
missiles.
tap me while I was
Unlike the
sleeping outside
Jordan
the police
strike,
station
this one
and all
appears
them
precise.
people, this
There
is
is
at
no
3 in the
blast
morning
damage
and he
surrounding
was
the radar,
scaring people
so it
like
is likely
Indian
a
did.
single attack that did
And then
the
he tried to
damage.
come at me
Yet
with
another US
something
base to be hit
in
was
his
the
hand.
P8 headquarters in Bahrain.
And I
Missiles
had to
and drones
defend
started
myself
falling on the
and then
naval
he ran
base
off with
almost
his
the moment
face
the war
bleeding.
started, and you may have seen footage of it. No prizes for guessing what was the target of these attacks. Radar once again. This satellite image shows the base before the attacks took
Yeah, the
place.
police station.
Notice these 2 white circular structures
But
up
when
near the
I
top
was
of the image.
literally
These are
robbed, had
radars,
cyanide thrown in
so-called
my
because
face,
they're
all types of
dome-shaped and are
stuff,
designed to
and my
cover
phone
sensitive radar
stolen
dishes. What they do is protect the radar from
and
the
was
elements,
stalked around.
wind, rain, and in the case of Bahrain, maybe sand, without interfering with the radar signals. Immediately, you can see that both of the radomes are missing from the image. One appears to have been destroyed by a very precise strike, probably the one caught on camera featuring the drone. There is a single blast crater with a blackened patch on the ground, likely carbon left behind by the fire the explosion caused. The second radome was not such a clean kill. There seem to be at least 2 separate impact areas where the dome used to be. As well as destroying the dome, these explosions seem to have seriously damaged nearby buildings as well. While we can't tell from this image alone precisely what was used in this
Yeah,
attack, we
Africans
can make
and
an
all of that
educated
live
guess
next
that
door
it was
to where
2
my
or more
mum
drones.
lived. And
The
then they're
size of the
trying to
blast
say, well,
areas
no,
appear
you're
roughly
out now
consistent with the
and
first
we own
destroyed
you.
dome, which
Because
indicates an explosive warhead of roughly the same size,
dude, stop it.
110 pounds for a Shahhead. That's way too small to be a ballistic missile,
He tried
as
to
we can
attack me in the
confirm by
street,
looking at the bottom
whoever
of this
tried to
image
slice me
to
in
the
the face,
destroyed
and I
warehouses.
literally,
This is almost
after
certainly the
trying to
area
steal
we
my
saw being hit
stuff,
by the
I
missile
literally
in
had
that
to
video at
do
the
stuff
moment.
to him.
3
And
large
they think
warehouses
that's very,
directly
very,
underneath
very,
the
very
impact
funny.
site have been completely demolished, and a
which I
fourth has
told
partially
them about.
collapsed. The 4 warehouses which butt up against them also appear to have suffered damage, though it is difficult to tell how bad it is. At
Then,
first
because they
glance, it appears to be
stole
puncture
stuff-
holes from shrapnel, but may well be debris that has been thrown onto the roof. It is also difficult to say what, if anything,
And
was
tried to
being
lock
stored
me
in
up
these
and say I was crazy
warehouses
at the
prior to the
hospital.
attack. Images from
And
the
then
ground
released me
also
after
provide
taking
clues,
stuff worth a lot of
simply
money and
showing
then
debris
following me.
scattered
They're like,
around.
yeah.
Though these images do seem to show damage to additional buildings aside from the radar domes and warehouses. What we can say with absolute certainty is that this was a much larger explosion than the ones which destroyed the radomes. Damage to this base is significant because the Fifth Fleet coordinates the activities of all US naval forces in the Middle East, including the units currently attacking Iran. While much of that coordination is probably being done from the deck of the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier,
And then
damaging
that's
the
what they
base will
want to
inevitably
kind of say
complicate
I
an
am,
already
but then be like,
complicated task.
no, you're one, you're
Iran
the
also
military,
struck
but
a
we
US
break it up
command
again and then
post
put
near
it back and break it
Shaiba
up and
in
put it back
Kuwait.
and break it back.
This
put
is
it
the
back.
site before the attack. Here you can see the structure that was hit. Sources
Trying
on the
to delay
ground
my
say the building was a
benefits,
standard
trying to,
triple-width
like,
trailer
then they're
with an
trying to say
office
that's the
interior,
House of Commons and all
basically
of
a
that.
temporary building.
And the
It
benefit
was
centers
protected
all
from the
linked
ground by
and
concrete T-walls
DWPs
that had
and
been
all of
placed
that.
around it, but had no additional protection from aerial attacks. We think the roof was made of thin corrugated metal, which is good enough to keep the elements out, but is not designed to withstand an explosive attack. The reason is that this structure was intended to be temporary. Those working inside had been relocated from a much larger site further to the south just a week earlier. They were helping coordinate the vital logistics mission that would sustain the American and Israeli bombing campaign that was about to get underway.
Explore Sunday hotels on the OYO website. Discover Sunday stays in London, Staines, Warwickshire, and across 18 cities in the UK. Enjoy a spa, indoor swimming pool, and restaurant bar. Get an extra 10% off exclusively on the
And they
OYO
keep showing
website.
these like,
Today is a
"Yo,
studio day, and I've got a
you're telling
branding
these
project
kids,
which I'm
better
currently
that.
working on. And I thought I'd show you a little bit of how I tackle it.
Better
I do
that,
quite a bit of
better
illustration as
that.
part of my work, so
Thanks
I
for
thought,
telling
come
the
to studio,
truth.
let's show you the process. Once I'm in, it's usually straight to the iPad.
Thanks for telling the
and
truth.
This one's actually professionally refurbished from Batman.
Okay. Dispersing staff to this base was supposed to protect them from Iranian retaliatory strikes once the war started. In fact, it put them in mortal danger.
That's
We
not
think
true.
Iran spied on those movements taking place by flying FPV-type drones fitted with cameras around this base. We
Tried
also
to
think
say-
they used GPS devices fitted to balloons to help spy out the anti-air defenses,
They're kids.
mostly Patriot batteries, that were supposed to be protecting the site. Having established there were people at the
And then
site
tried
and
to
how to
say
overcome the defenses,
Chinese
Iran
ain't
launched its
patriot.
attack around 9 a.m. local
And
time
they tried
on
to say
March
Chinese
1st.
Iran right there.
This was the result of yet more
And then
Shahed
tried to attack
drones.
Chinese kids
Witnesses
here
say the Iranians initially fired missiles at the base,
that were
which triggered an
working
alert from the
basically
anti-air
at the
systems,
top centers
prompting
and
staff
stuff
to run
like
to
that,
protected bunkers on the
who have
site.
gone missing as
But this
well.
soon cleared with no impacts on the base. Staff left their bunkers and returned to the office, which is when the Shahed struck. Witnesses say there was no warning of this attack. One moment calm, the next smoke and panic. 6 US service personnel died as a result of this impact, and at least a dozen more were wounded. The single deadliest Iranian attack we know of to date. Though we don't know all the facts about this attack yet, it seems likely the lack of a warning played a critical role in the eventual death toll. Shaheds are very good at evading anti-air defenses in this way. That's because US anti-air defenses were designed to spot and shoot down high-flying, fast-moving missiles. They are not very good at spotting low-flying, slow-moving drones. This creates a blind spot that the Shaheds exploit. Their lack of
Telling them all that.
sophistication compared to missiles in
Getting
a
the
paradoxical
older
way
ones and
makes them
the
far
younger
deadlier.
ones and the females,
So
trying
far,
to get
we've
them
seen
out of there.
evidence of 2 Iranian strategies running in
And me
parallel.
as well, doing stuff
Strike
to me
US
with
radar,
Africans, and
thereby
I've
hurting
already
its
put it
ability
all
to
up.
see and
Don't
stop
worry, you'll
future
be
attacks.
alright.
And attack US command
'Cause
posts,
you're telling the
thereby
truth.
reducing its ability to prosecute the war. Both strategies that would be familiar to any military commander. But now we're about to see evidence of a third, less conventional strategy that is proving far more effective than either. This is the oil refinery in Ras Tanura,
Then
in
causing
Saudi
the
Arabia,
riots
the
out
largest and
here
oldest in the region. When it's working,
and
this site
America
is
at the
capable
same
of
time,
refining
but
500,000
that's
barrels of oil
backfiring.
every single day. It is therefore vital not just to the energy security of the region, but of the entire
With
world.
online, because
And
they're
on March
saying,
the
well,
2nd, it
the
came under
web,
attack by the Iranians.
we use it out
Here's
here,
the
the
resulting
American web, so
damage.
we can start
Scorch mark
linking
can clearly be seen on the
and
ground in at
literally
least 3
connect
sections of the
the
plant.
web.
This is likely carbon residue left behind by oil which set alight after sparks from multiple explosions. And down here, you can see hoses still trying to douse a fire in this section of the plant. The culprit was again thought to be Iranian drones, 2 of them. Unlike the Kuwait attack we just saw, Saudi Arabia says its air defenses were able to spot and shoot down those drones. However, they must have spotted them late, while the aircraft were already flying over the plant. Because what happened next is the burning wreckage of those drones fell into the refinery and caused the fires you're seeing here. As a result of this attack, Ras Tanura had to shut down operations for almost 2 weeks,
Ellen
costing the
and all
global
of that.
economy an
Ellen
estimated
DeGeneres.
5.5 million barrels of oil. This reveals Iran's third and most effective strategy: disrupt as much as possible global oil production. Tehran knows that, as the world's top consumer of oil, the US is incredibly sensitive to changes in the price. Presidencies can be made or broken by it. Driving up the price of oil heaps political pressure on Trump to end the war early, which is exactly what Iran wants. The longer America and Israel keep bombing, the more damage they will do to the regime. The sooner the regime can get them to
So they're
quit,
trying to
the less damage
literally
it will suffer, and the
destroy
easier it will be to cling to power
the
once the
medical
shooting
places to
stops.
steal my stuff and be
Unable
like,
to
look, you
defeat
give us
Israel and the
yours,
US with conventional
you're
weapons, the regime has
basically
to employ strategies such as this
or
to
you
stand
wait
any chance
for
of winning.
one of
And
us,
so far,
or we're
it is
just going to
proving
destroy
effective.
everything.
At this point, you may have realized that all the satellite images we have are several weeks out of date,
Because we
and they
want to be
all
like,
show US
well, we're
bases
the
or
rich
Gulf
one,
state
we're all
civilian
rich, you're
sites.
just blue.
There's nothing of Israel, and there's a good reason for that. Because satellite imagery is such a powerful tool for understanding this war, access to it is now being restricted. Commercial satellite companies such as Planet Labs, whose images we rely on to bring you analysis like this, have cracked down hard. Initially, they imposed a 4-day delay to publishing
Planet
images
Labs,
of any US
Paris One
bases
and all
in
them
and
lit
around
guys
the
at
Arabian Gulf.
tech
But
centres
that has
and
now
all
been
of that.
extended to 14 days, meaning the images we're receiving in our newsroom today show strikes that took place 2 full weeks ago.
Nah,
The company says this is for operational security,
they
concerns
keep
that near
switching
real-time
around
imagery
times
could be
and
used as
dates and
tactical
names
leverage.
and all about that.
And that's a fair concern. Iran does operate a limited number of satellites, some with potential military applications, whereas companies like Planet Labs has 200. It makes analyzing conflicts like this significantly harder, not just for journalists, but for academics, researchers, and policymakers. As for Israel, it has a military censor which prohibits publishing data relating to its military installations. Any information, particularly relating to missile or drone impacts, must be submitted to the censor for approval before publication. If the areas concerned are civilian, then this is usually approved quickly. But for military sites, it is very rare for approval to be granted. Again, the reasoning is security. They want to stop information about their most sensitive sites from being used by their enemies to hurt them. That obviously makes
Then
sense.
stop
But again, it
trying
restricts
to
what we're able to show when doing
literally
analysis such as
hurt
this.
people
And it raises
and
a
kill
difficult
people.
question. In modern war, who gets to control what the world is allowed to see? What we've seen is just how effective Iran's drones have been in this war so far. Many of these strikes
Obviously,
have been
African
carried
and
out in
Indians
part
do
or entirely
to you
by
guys.
Shaheds. These $35,000 drones have emerged as Iran's most destructive weapon precisely because they lack sophistication. Their simplicity allows Iran to
Jamaicans
produce
and
them in large numbers,
homosexuals, some of
tens
them
of
ain't even
thousands by some
involved, they're
estimates,
turning.
and deploy them flexibly. They can be
'Cause
built,
I ain't
stored,
that
and
way.
launched from almost
It just is
anywhere,
what it
making
is.
them difficult to track and destroy.
Respectfully,
On top of which,
but
air
you
defenses are
guys
not
are
designed to spot
literally,
them,
as
and even
youngsters,
if they do, have to resort to shooting them down
and
with a
working with
much more
elders
expensive missile.
in
Based on the
America and
evidence
stuff
we've
like that,
seen,
and saying,
countering these drones
well,
effectively is
with
now one of the
kids
biggest
though, and then we're
challenges
going
facing
after
the US
young
and
kids,
Israel. Iran
and
is using
old
them as
kids
part
and
of a 3-pronged strategy.
three-prong.
First, targeting
Yeah, I know.
radar to
I already
blind
put
air
the pictures up.
defenses.
Young,
Second, striking
old,
headquarters
and
and
then saying they're
logistics to
babies.
disrupt command and control. And third, hitting energy infrastructure, including gas plants and the Strait
Yeah,
of Hormuz,
trying to
to
get
pressure
me.
the global economy.
Steal my
Aside from
stuff.
strikes at Ras
Get my
Tanura,
phone.
Iran has also shut down Qatar's liquefied natural gas plants and blocked the vital Strait of Hormuz. Oil from 5 of the world's top 10 producers passes through the strait. So these disruptions drive up prices, strain the global economy, and increase pressure on Trump to end the fighting, not just from his own people, but from leaders worldwide fearing a recession. That's Iran's trump card, and so far, it appears to be working. We made this episode because you guys asked for it. What else would you like to see Photo Evidence cover? Leave your suggestions in the comment section below, and don't forget to check out our previous video analysing battle damage on Iran.